Hi everyone, welcome to my live stream. We're going to be looking at ES and a bunch of different chart requests. I'm going to be talking about how to fade breakout buyers and giving you some general tips on swinging and everything that's going on in the market. So feel free to please leave any questions in the chat, or if you have any chart requests that I'm not going through, please also leave that on the chat. Okay. So let's get started. Let me just see if the audio is good. Um, let's get started. Okay, yeah, we're good. All right. Okay, so we got 10 people in the chat. Welcome. So let's start off with ES because that's what everyone is most excited about. So the pre-market, the weekend plan that I provided, the first thing that we have to do is we have to establish the range of last week, right? So this was last week's low at 36.25, and here is last week's high at 23. So let's go to my plan and let's talk about a few of the things that I mentioned, okay? So preparation for Sunday open. There are two simple options that can happen with the Sunday open. One, we gap up or down. And I said here, I'll wait for the first hourly bar to close to determine if the gap is sustainable or not. From there, I'll either use the orb, Fibonacci, or inside bar to continue the direction of the gap. If after the first hour I identify a weakness, I will treat this as a false breakout and look to fade the gap to the gap fill. So what am I saying here? Basically, based on statistics, when we open on Sunday, there's a general theme of piercing through the range and getting sucked back in. And this is a common occurrence because there are breakout buyers and there are a lot of rookies that are trading FOMO. And if you see here, the high of last week was 37.23. So we can clearly see here the high of Sunday so far is 37.24. So there's clearly people chasing highs, right? And anytime we chase highs and it doesn't work immediately, we have a reversal. And oftentimes it's very powerful. It's one of the most powerful trading patterns in the game. And this can happen on all time frames. Whenever we have a breakout that is immediately turned around, we usually have a big reversal, right? It doesn't have to be, a crash, but it's still good enough for you to make a few bucks. So the question is, how do we actually trade this, right? So I'm going to be sharing some of my strategies with you guys. And normally, some of these strategies I don't really want to share because it's not it takes a lot of skill, basically. But I'm going to teach you guys today, and hopefully, if you follow along, you're going to be able to understand it. Okay. So the first thing that we have to do is draw the Fibonacci from last week. Okay. So we take it from the low to the high, like this. Okay. So if we had opened anywhere in this range, then we would be using these Fibonacci levels as areas of support or resistance. Okay. But because we opened and pierced through, that is a different pattern. So this is a double top pattern. So how do you trade a double top pattern? Well, the way that I like to do it is using limit orders. Okay. So as soon as we opened, right? So here was the open. So the open was right here on this line. I would have had a limit order sitting at last week's high to short. Okay. And my stop loss in this case, if you want to be very, very tight and aggressive, you can go above this 10% extension. But that's just something that I put together from my own back testing. If you want to be conservative, what I recommend doing is having this negative 382 on your chart. So this would be the setup. This is a very conservative setup for a short. Okay, so we have a limit order on the previous week's high, expecting this false breakout. So this trade is very safe because it allows you to have enough room in case the market wants to poke up a bit and then reverse down, because that's what we're anticipating. In this case, the poke was very, very small, right? So at this point, if you would front run and had a limit order here, you would already have a break-even trade now, right? And whatever happens at this point, it doesn't matter because you're already in the trade, you're risk-free, and you're gonna let it go as much as you can. Because this could end up being the week's high for this week. This could end up being the next 2 or 3 weeks high. We don't know. but you have to put yourself in a position where you can take those trades. Okay, so the first entry style would be a limit order with a stop above these fibs. And the reason why I put it above the fibs is because if we're looking at this leg right here, so here's the Fibonacci leg from last week. So we had this push up to the high, and then we had this pull back to the 50, right? And for anyone who's bought my book, you understand the completion. So the completion can either be a breakthrough, right? And then to these targets, 272, 380, 250, or it can be a double top and a reversal. And that's what we had today. We had a pull to a double top and a reversal. We don't know if this is going to completely reverse down, but it was good enough for a short. And if you were very tight on the short, if you're using the 10%, you've already made three times, close to three times your money. Let's see. Yeah, you've already made three times your money on that short. Okay, so that's how you short using limit orders. And I do this a lot in day trading. And I have my specific rules and setups for that. But that's just one way for you to get involved. The other way you can get involved is taking the breakout below this bar or taking the short at the close of the bar. So in any one of these, you would be kind of not really too much in profitability, but you're playing with the idea that this thing is going to continue lower. So that's what you're looking for. Or another advanced strategy that I use is you let the first hour bar close and then you draw the fibs of the first hour. So here's the fib from the first hour, and then you can layer in shorts at these Fibonacci's with a hard stop above the swing high. So we could have shorted at the 382, and you might have got filled if you had a little bit above the 50, but still you would have gotten a portion here at the 382, and that's already pushed the leg down. Okay, so depending on how you wanted to short, you could have already been up some money. You could have already locked in. It all depends on what your time frame is. So if you think this is going to be the major double top for the next 3 months, the next year, whatever, then play it accordingly. Okay. So the other thing is, so now we've identified that we had this double top and I showed you how to trade it. So now let's look at what other Fibonacci legs are in play. Okay. So like I said, this is the bigger leg here from this low to this high, and all of these areas can be support. We already saw that the 50 already acted as support. This was a major support zone. So we're expecting if this market breaks this 50 zone, that it's gonna tank. Maybe to the 618 or 786, we don't know, but we're expecting if this breaks, we're gonna have some type of flush because we can clearly see that there was a lot of buyers here last week, and the stop losses are gonna be here. So the immediate long, if we look at the immediate long, there is a smaller leg, right? So this is the bigger leg. Okay, the smaller leg is right here. Okay, so what we can do here is we can draw the fib for the smaller leg. So this is a tighter setup, but we can still make a few points at least on this setup here. Okay, so what do we have happening right here with the smaller leg? Well, basically the theory and the concept of the Fibonacci is that you're not expecting this swing low to break if this Fibonacci leg is to work. So if this Fibonacci leg is to work, we're supposed to have a push up, a push down, and then either we retest this high or we just retest this high and break straight through, or we can have something where we retest this area here and then come down here. So all of those factors can happen. We're not sure, but we know that these Fibonacci levels are going to be major areas of support. And look, we already see that we've been bouncing here. How many times have we tagged this 50% and bounced already? Let's go to a 5-minute chart and look at it. Okay, so here's on the 5-minute. Here was the first tag of the 50. You see how beautiful that is? Almost to the exact penny. Okay, so there's already a scalp. Here's another scalp. Now we're trying again. So that's how you use the bigger picture Fibonacci, go down on a lower time frame and make money. All right. So does that make sense? If there's any questions, just throw them in the chat. If everything makes sense, also just throw something in the chat so I know you guys are following. All right. Yeah, so that's the immediate long. This is the smaller long leg right here. This is the bigger one. And then we can also look at the short. Okay, so now the short is going to be this opposing leg here. So if we take from this high to this low here, we have an opposing leg for the short. So what we can also see is a push down here and then a pull back to any one of these fibs, possibly the 50 here, and then a completion down here at the 786. Okay, so there's so many ways to play it. There's a million ways to play it. It's up to you guys how you want to do it. And my job is to just show you the way to get in the trade and how to read the chart. And you have to manage the trades accordingly to your bias. And my job is to teach you. Okay. So the main thing is always make sure that when you're taking any of these trades, if you're aggressive, you front run the trade. You put in a limit order. You get in ahead of the game. Too many people wait to join the move after it's already occurred. That's a losing strategy. In this market, you have to be able to anticipate and predict. Okay? If you can't anticipate and predict, you're going to be left behind. All right? And manage your risk. Okay? So in any one of these trades, if I lose, it's going to be a very, very small amount. It's not going to be a lot, right? But my reward is going to be high. So just to recap here, we had last week's range, and my plan was that we're going to poke through and we're going to reverse because I just see it happen all the time. And I know that there's so many greedy people up here that think the market is just going to go straight up because they're not educated in the market. They haven't seen it enough. So how to get involved in that? Well, there's multiple ways. The first one is having a limit order on the level with a stop above any one of these Fibonacci's up here, right? And the other option is to get in at the close, get in on the Fibonacci of the bar, get in at the breakout, many, many opportunities, okay? So now just keep in mind a few things. The Fibonacci of this smaller leg, okay, that's one. So this zone here, so 87 to 95 is a good zone. And then now also take into consideration this zone for the shorts, okay? Which would be up here, basically between 10 to 18, even up to 21. This zone here, this whole area here is shortable, okay? And then you put your stop loss above here, right? So you can put in limit orders here, you can layer it in, you can do whatever, however you want to be involved. All right, just don't risk the house on it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. You just move on to the next trade. The main thing that I like about fibs are they are anticipatory. So we try to predict where the price is going to go, where it's going to complete ahead of time. We don't have to wait for anything, and that's what makes it very powerful. And obviously, they're not going to work all the time, but when they do work, you can make a good amount of money. And when they don't work, you lose small. So that type of strategy is going to make you profitable in the long run. Okay, so any questions in there, drop it in there. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at a few chart requests from the post that I had here. And with those chart requests, I'm going to also look at all these swing trades that I'm looking at for next week. I have them all up here. Trading in the micros, yes. I trade in the micros so I can get precise size. So like, because if you trade with the full contracts, you can only do 1, 2, 3, 4, like in whole numbers. And with the micros, I can do, like, let's say I want to short 4.5 ES contracts. I can't do that. I can only do 4, I can only do 5. So, but if I do micros, I can do 45. So it gives me exact risk. It gives me the exact amount that I need, right? And that's all based on my calculator. I calculate before I get into the trade. If I get stopped out, I only want to lose between 1 to 2% of my account. And then I set the size of the contracts to be that. Okay, so if the market is moving a lot more volatile, then I'll get less contracts. If it's moving more tight, then I'll get more contracts. Okay, so Microsoft, let's start off there. So Microsoft, I really love Microsoft. I've been in Microsoft personally for a very long time as an investor. And let's do a clean chart here, and let's start off with Microsoft again. Okay, so the first thing you want to do with any chart is just zoom out, right? So we can clearly see this thing is an uptrend. There's no question about that. So if it's in an uptrend, why would I want to short? Think about that for a second. Just overall, you have a lower chance of shorting to be successful. So why do it? It can work. It can work. It absolutely can work. But why would you do it? If you're really trying to trade for a living and you're going to take 300 trades in the year, would you trade 300 trades against a trend? I know some people that have done that and they're not around to talk about it anymore. All right. So take my advice when I say trade with the direction of the trend. All right, back to this. Okay, so we had this coronavirus rally, Since then, we've put in this push down and this push back up. And something that I pointed out here is the algos have been identified here clearly. So we see that the algos have been buying at the 886 and the 786, and they're using this swing low here as a major level of support. So this area 195, 195-ish. So what has happened so far is we've tagged that 886, and then we started consolidating along the mid Bollinger Band, which is the 20 EMA. And I really like that type of play because this is basically a flag, right? So for all the people out there that love these flag stuff, that's what it is right here. Okay. There you go. You see that now? Look at that. So what we're expecting here from Microsoft is if we can squeeze through last week's high, that we're going to break through and make a new all-time high. Pretty straightforward. On the other hand, if these algo levels go, so where the algos were buying, if these levels start to break down, we can see a big pullback. And if we do see a pullback, then what I would do in that case is draw the full Fibonacci from the low to the high from the coronavirus drop. And then basically this would be my sweet spot zone right over here. So I could see if we start to break down, I could see something like this down in this area or here, really somewhere here, because the algos are not going to give this area up without a fight. So you can pretty much bet that you have a high probability of bouncing from there. So that's what's really going on in Microsoft. We have that flag pattern, and I'm in Microsoft. I've been buying Microsoft. I bought Microsoft during the COVID drop, so I don't really care what happens with it. I'm up, and I'm just going to hold it as long as I can because I treat Microsoft as a long-term investment for me. If it comes back down here, I'll buy more, and that's it. All right, let's move on. So, okay, we have a few here. So NIO. Chart is a little bit wacky. So again, let's look at the trend, what's happening here. We're clearly on a big ramp. What I don't like about this ramp is it's just been vertical, right? It hasn't been following clean technical analysis. It hasn't been pulling back and giving a nice opportunity for buyers to come back into the moving averages and push up. So what I would say here is that it's still very bullish, especially with this week's close. And if we can get above this week, expect for a new high. The only thing that I would say here is at some point, if this thing keeps going up like this, it's going to fall hard because nothing with this type of rally will last. You have to imagine that some guys bought here and here, and they're just waiting for an opportunity to get out, right? So be cautious. If you're buying up here, be cautious, right? That's what my point is here. Be cautious when you see something go vertical. Let's look at the wheat stocks as an example. Look at Tilray. Tilray went vertical on the weekly. And I remember this because I was trading these plot stocks a long time ago. But usually after a vertical push, it doesn't end too pretty. So just be careful. I'm not saying that it's going to crash. All I'm saying is be careful. All right, so now let's look at this FUBO. Notice, guys, I'm always doing my analysis on the weekly chart. The weekly chart has more buyers sitting in there. There's more money in each candle. It means more, okay? I don't know what to say about this. The fact that I see all this crap over here doesn't interest me at all. I would not want to put my money in this period. But if you are, the plan would be to respect this candle. This candle is a very powerful bullish candle that has taken out previous short sellers. So we can see the short sellers right here. And we can see one of the most classic, beautiful candlestick patterns that I love. Right here, we see the shorts were here. We see that we broke down and actually more shorts came in because we broke the low. So we had a bunch of shorts in this and we immediately turned around and squeezed the shit out of them. So when I see that type of candle, the plan is to continue to buy and continue to go long as this low can hold. The moment this low gets taken out, everything changes. All right. So, and the reason why, again, is because there's shorts here, there's shorts that were here, and they've gotten stopped out. So if this candle must hold for the continuation up. All right. FSR. Okay, I'm going to talk about options in a sec. FSR. I love this inside week. Look how beautiful that inside week is. It's so lovely. You know, you guys know that I love inside bars, right? I love inside bars. I love them so much. So we have an inside bar on the 20 EMA. So basically here, the question is this a double top or is this a continuation of the push higher? How much you guys want to bet that this is a fit? I can just see it. Look at that. 618. I just guessed it. I just done it for so much time that I just know. So anyways, we have a 618 pullback with an inside bar. So that's obviously very bullish. But my problem with this is it could be a double top as well. So the best play to do here is to bracket this inside bar, short below the low, long above the high, and see what you get out of it. Because we don't know if it's a double top, we don't know if it's a continuation of Fibonacci. But what you can see here is the smart money. What do you think the smart money did? The smart money had limit orders sitting at the 618 and they're already been filled and they're already up money. Their stop is at break even and they don't care anymore, right? That's what the smart money did. All right, let's move on. FTCH. Yeah. Same thing. I liked how we broke through last week's low and then we turned around. That shows me that some shorts are trapped and then we pushed up. So the plan would be to play long as this low can hold. The issue is kind of vertical, so I'll be a little bit worried. Like I would rather be a buyer down here. You see how we have a nice pullback and a push? But what I like about this is at least it's following some type of common sense. We are pulling back. We are having some kind of structured push. So if you want to immediately go long, I would play long above this low. If this low breaks, look for this area back at the mid band to be support. Chewy, and then I love Chewy, and I regret this so much that I was not in this stock. I like it's one of the things that bother me so much that I was not in this stock. It hurts me because look how beautiful this hammer is right here on the mid band. And once I saw that they were doing commercials on like Hulu and everything, I was like, man, people love their pets so much. This is a no-brainer. Really was a no-brainer. And I haven't gotten in and I can't get in now just because I'm not the type of person to chase highs. I will say something though. I still see this thing bullish as long as this week's low can hold. You buy the dip, you put a stop loss here. That's it. And then hopefully this thing keeps squeezing. It's definitely going really vertically. And congratulations to anybody that had the common sense to know that people love pets. It's literally that simple sometimes. So the common sense is that people love their pets. And then the second part is where the hell do I get in? Well, you have a hammer candle at the mid Bollinger Band. It doesn't get more prettier than that. This is a Bollinger Bands, the standard Bollinger Bands. So let me answer a few questions and then we'll get back to the charts. How can you use weekly charts to play weekly options, or is not a good play? I'm not an expert with options. I trade futures and I trade stocks, and I prefer to put my money in that because I don't want to have a time decay or any other constraints on my position. If I get into something on a weekly chart, it might take a few months for it to actually play out, and I rather not want to have another factor like the time to make me lose money, right? But if you want to, what you would do is you would have to get at least probably 1 to 2 months out of the option, and then you need to price it. You price it by saying, where do you expect it to be? And what is the price now? Take the difference of that and compare it to the option price and see if it's worth it or not. That's how you would do it. But personally, I don't need to go there because I can make a lot just trading the stock, or I can make a lot trading futures. So I don't go down that rabbit hole anymore. But if you want to, that's how you would do it. And then AAPS. Yeah, I'll look at XOM, no problem. Where is it? APPS. I don't know why the charts are so messed up. I feel like I was looking at this one recently. So look at this. So for me, this is why I love inside bars. So if anyone's serious about inside bars and they want to study, I want you to print out this chart and I want you to understand this pattern, okay? So this is exactly what I did on PayPal, and I've made over 20, like almost 25% return. So let me show you what I'm talking about here, and then we're gonna look at PayPal, okay? I love the double inside bar pattern with a strong bullish bar before it. So this is a strong bullish bar, and we have an inside week and another inside week. What it means is that the market is consolidating, right? And as you can see here, the lows are getting higher and higher. So what it means here is every time we dip, it's being bought. 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 We dip, it's being bought, right? What does that mean? That means that buyers are accepting the price as it gets higher and higher, okay? And then we have this. This is like a flat top breakup, okay? And the setup, the way you trade it, is if you have a double inside bar pattern with a strong bullish bar, you just go long above the high, you put a stop below either the inside bar, the first one or the second one. The second one will give you a little bit more security, but if you're going very aggressive, put it below the second one. And you already have a big winner right there, right? So that's the pattern we're looking for. What's the percentage on this? That's 40%, well, 38%, close enough, right? That's what I'm talking about. So let's look at PayPal, and I'll show you guys. This has been one of my best winners every day since the beginning of the year. And yeah, I made over 50% on Tesla, and I get no credit for it because people think like, oh, you know, anyone can make money on Tesla. But what about this? What about PayPal? Look at this. Same pattern, but this time it was a hammer, double inside. I went long right here with a stop right there. And now I'm still sitting in this, and I'm just laughing. Well, close to, at the very highs is about 23%. So it's the same pattern, right? You see that. It's the same double inside bar pattern. So personally, for that stock, APPS, I feel like I would have already been long in here or in here. We had another inside bar. So I would have already been in this one. I don't know. I don't think it's the best time to go long in here, but if you're very aggressive, you do the same approach that I say. Play the candle because it's a big body candle. So how you play the candle is you want to go long anywhere in here and put a stop below here. Okay. All right. Next, NIO. So it looks like there was an inside week last week, right? So I like this setup because the inside week from last week was a bearish bar, and that bar is in danger of getting taken out. So I think a great play here would be long up here with a stop down here to see if we can have one more push up. I think that would be a great play. If we break here, this low, I'm expecting to retest this mid-Bollinger Band. Okay. Starbucks. Okay, Starbucks is actually on my swing list this week. I really like Starbucks because it is a inside week, and you guys know I love those. And the reason I really like this inside week is because the previous week there was a lot of selling pressure on Starbucks. So I really think if we can break above this high here, that we're going to squeeze this wick. We're going to squeeze through this wick, and we're going to push up. If we do break the other side, though, there's also that possibility that we pull back down here. So we'll see. Oxy. I don't know why the charts are so messed up. I really don't know. Anyways, personally here, nothing really interests me in this stock at all. It looks like garbage. What I would say here is that we had a gap down and we're testing this gap fill here. We already tested the gap fill and already rejected. So now the question is this going to be a double top? So look for these week's lows to get broken for a confirmation of the double top. Lulu. Lulu. So Lulu, I called this one out a long time ago, and let's talk about it again. So we had this coronavirus push, we had the pullback, and then we retested the 618 right here. Okay, and you can see the algo stepped in. So the only danger here with Lulu is that the algo stepped in and they bought at the 618 and they've already completed their extension. So they bought at the 618 and they took it off at the 382 zone right over here. You could see they sold and they're selling again. But I really like the close of this week's bar. So if you want to be super bullish, you just play long above this bar. If this bar goes, expect us to have a deeper pullback. We might come back down and test this zone here. But the easy part is done. Pull back to the 618, trade to the 382. So that part is already done, and people have already made money. Walmart. Yeah, Walmart is, so this is actually from my book here with Walmart. We had a big push and pull back to the 50, and that 50 has traded to the extensions above. That's why we're getting rejection over here. So you might look at this chart, and without the fib, you might not know why we're getting rejection in certain areas. But we had a major pullback to this 50, and there was a lot of buying, a big algo push actually. Look at this bar, big algo push, and the algo is now satisfied. And originally they sold at 50. That's why we had this big wick drop. And now they're also selling some here at 618. So I think from a long perspective, Walmart just needs a little bit more time. Come back down, test this mid Bollinger Band, consolidate a little bit, and then be ready to join the next leg. UVXY, SPY, and gold. UV Alt R resets the chat, or restarts the chart. Let's see what that does actually. Let's do this together. Alt R. Ooh, that's not Alt R. Alt R. Oh. Okay. I don't know what the hell I did. Let's go back. All right. Okay. So I like this setup for two reasons. You can clearly see that we're at a major area of support, right? So that's obvious. So let's draw that line together. And then how did this week close? Does anybody know the answer? I have an inside week. So I would say, the selling was the only thing about going long here that I'm a little bit scared about, is that the selling was nasty. The selling was powerful. And then if we zoom out here, this thing is in a downtrend, right? It's in a downtrend. So all the other stocks we're talking about, where I'm saying go long, blah, 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 it's because it's in an uptrend. So this thing is actually in a downtrend. So what I would actually like to see with this thing here is to bracket this inside bar, be willing to go long for a scalp up here, but also be willing to short this thing. Because if this thing can break through this support and break through this inside bar, I don't think there's anything below. So let's go to a monthly chart and see. I don't think there's anything below. No, there's nothing below. So this could be a huge sell-off. There's really not any support below. So keep an eye on that one. I'm actually interested to see how that one plays out. So let's see. SPY. I've got to go to SPX because I have too much stuff on my SPY chart. So we already talked about SPY basically, right? So we'll be looking at the ES chart. But really, the bigger picture on SPY is that where it all started for me, we go to the weekly, was this hammer bar. And this is a bar that I called out live on Twitter on the actual close on the 21st of September. I called this bar out, and everybody at the time was thinking that this was going to be a double top and that everything was going to fall apart. So this has been the real trigger for me. And we retested it and we couldn't break it. And that's how you know things are super bullish, when we can't break those lows. But up here, it is very dangerous to be up here. It is very dangerous because it's starting to go vertical. And anytime you go vertical, you're in danger of coming down hard because there's a lot of bag holders. And when it comes down, it's going to come down hard. But really, until any one of these weekly bars lows get taken out, then we're just continually doing the same thing. Grind higher, grind higher, grind higher. If any of these weekly bars get taken out, expect us to retrace back to this mid Bollinger Band. And then we'll see what happens from there. Gold. So let's look at gold futures, see what's going on with gold. So some of these notes are from my book, so just ignore them. But what I'm seeing here is a Fibonacci leg. Pretty sure that we talked about this one last week. We take it from this swing low to the swing high. We have the 50% touch. I really hope you guys can see that. you know, like those touches of those fibs, how powerful they are, and just incorporate them in your trading and just be able to draw those fibs, because the robots are they have limit orders there. That's why we bounce. They have orders sitting there waiting, right? And that's how I want you guys to be able to trade, be able to foresee the future, and be able to plan and take trades before the price even gets there. Be predictive. So we already tagged the 50 and we bounced. So really, as long as this 50 can hold, we just continue higher, continue sideways. It doesn't matter as long as this pivot holds. Once this pivot goes, it opens up a lot more downside, back down into this cluster over here, or even back down to the 786. So I feel like the good buy has already played out here. This was the best opportunity, and now you just kind of have to wait and see what happens, because the short leg will also be trying to short. So let's draw the short leg from this high to low, right? So this area is not going to go down without a fight. It will not go down without a fight. The short sellers will try here, and they already have tried here in the past. So let's see, really this zone here is a key battleground to see. If the shorts pile in here again, and they really, really want it, we can break through this pivot, right? Feel free guys, if anything, you have any questions, throw it in there, and any chart requests too. I know somebody said XOM, right? And we have ACB, right? So let's do ACB and XOM before I get back to the list. ACB. I used to trade these stocks back in the day, but you know, it's not really worth my time anymore because they're really volatile and they gap a lot. And I hate being in things that do that because it puts your capital at risk. Well, what I would say here is I like this inside week close, and I would be willing to bracket this inside week on both sides to take the breakout to see what will happen. And XOM, same thing with XOM. Nice inside week. I'll be willing to bracket both sides and see what happens. I can also see here on XOM that the short leg is here. So we're in the 50 zone here. So if we break through this low, we can expect things to kind of get going to the downside. Amazon and FCEL. So with Amazon, I've been waiting on this one for a long time, and a lot of people have, and I think that's why it's not working. Because when too many people are talking about stuff on Twitter, you know it's not going to work. That's usually how it goes. But we had the same pattern that we had on PayPal. We had this double inside pattern, and really now just waiting for this pattern to play out. The entry was above here, either stop here or stop below here, and just waiting to get this thing to work. It's just going sideways, and eventually it's going to pop. And the thing that I'm a little bit worried about Amazon is that if it doesn't pop soon, it's actually at more risk of going to the downside, because the longer you stay consolidated here, and if you have a little push down, it will trigger a lot of stop losses and we can have a flush. So we really have to wait and see here. Right now, it's just in the middle of nowhere. FCEL. So this is so this thing is in a downtrend, right? And I would actually be looking. So we had a double inside bar pattern here. And in this case, I would not actually be wanting to go long because the trend on this thing is down. I'd actually be willing to take a short if we could break through last week's low. I think that could be very, very powerful. If you want to play bullish, then you should already be in by now with a stop down here and see where it goes. But I think based on the fact that this thing has been in a downtrend for a while, if we can break these lows here, I think that's a good short to pull us back down here or even back down here. So I think that's a good play there. INAC. I don't know. So for INAC, so these new companies, I like playing the inside bars on the new companies that have a few candles. So we already had that inside bar here. So if you were long, you already be in this already. You'd already be filled up here and you'd be in it already. Your stop would have been down here. You can move your stop up to here. So you have a pretty like a half risk trade at this point. But if you're not long already, there's pretty much nothing else to do, right? And let's see if there's any type of fib confluence anywhere. So you can see how this wick came down all the way close to the 886. and then we had an algo buy, and we have another algo buy. So it is looking pretty bullish, and let's see if it can continue higher. I would have, if you wanted to play this, I would have already been in this up here, and now I would have been in some profits and just waiting to see what happens. NQ, so NQ is pretty much the same thing as ES, right? It's the same thing that I talked about, is those legs, but let's look at it. Let's go down to the hourly. So again, NQ is always 90% of the time is usually a lot more bullish than ES. It doesn't always have to be. But if we look at NQ here, it's actually a lot stronger than ES right now, because look how we have this beautiful higher low pattern, higher low, higher low, higher low, right? And we're flagging right now. So what I would look here is a break to this upside here for a squeeze, a break to the downside for sell-off, right? So, you know, short below these wicks, high above these wicks, looks pretty decent. I wouldn't risk a lot of money because it's after hours. Anything can happen, but still decent pattern to take a shot at. FBIO. Weekly. So if you're immediately bullish, you play long, BTW, and I'll look at that. Yeah, you play long, stop below this bar. You bet on this bar being a major area of support, but you also have to be very, very worried about this gap fill. This gap fill right here and this area. So all of this area here is going to be a major area of resistance. Anytime you have a gap and we fill the gap, that's what we call a gap fill. And the gap fill is usually a very strong point of reversal. So just be aware of that. So SPY and QQQ, we basically did that already. IWM, SLV. What's that? IWM, you know, it's pretty much just doing the same thing as all the other markets are doing, right? So if we go on the hourly, yeah, so it's pretty much the same analysis for ES and NQ, right? SLV, is that silver? SLV, yeah, it is. So let's look at silver futures. Silver futures. Right, so is that the first bar? Did it open yet? I don't really trade silver, so I'm not sure. Is this live? Can't tell. Anyways, so we had a nice double bottom here on silver. Look at that. We held this area. So things are looking extremely bullish as long as this low can hold. Probably going to retest these highs up here, but I can also see the potential for shorts to be loading in right now on the 618 and right here in the 786. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have some selling up in this zone. So let's see how it goes with silver. FCEL, I think we went through that one. Pretty sure we did. Let me do the one in the chat. BTWN. The hell is this? I would just play it like an inside bar setup. So long above the high, short below the low. The only thing that I don't like is, what the hell is this? That big selling. I would actually be more inclined to short below this low with a stop above the high. That's how I would play that. Cat. Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit faster. It's already 43 minutes in here. So cat, we had the inside bar from the previous week, and that's already broken out. So as long as that inside bar we can hold, we continue to play long. If it breaks, we can pull back to this mid-Bollinger Band. ALB. This thing is at a major area of resistance up here. So I like how we have a hammer here. With this hammer, I would actually be looking more to the short side to see if this thing can double top. If this hammer wick breaks, I'm expecting us to pull back to this mid-Bollinger Band area. So that looks like a good short, actually. And likewise, if this short wick can break here, expect some pop. I don't know how much it's going to last because it's also a double top. So be careful on that one. Paco. Not really seeing anything I'm interested in. We already had this inside week down here at the mid band that looked good for a long play. If you're not long there, not really interested in anything at the moment. And now, okay, so this is a very clear bullish uptrend. Things look good. So the inside bar played out a few weeks ago. We're already up there. What I would say here is if you want to continue playing long, you play long above this stop. above this low right here as your stop. If we pull back a bit, look for this zone to be support. DM. What the hell is this? Not really. I don't really see a clean setup right now. I would wait for this mid Bollinger Band to pull in. I can see the fib potential. So we are at the 618, which is a good area. If we could break above this wick, then that would be a good confirmation for the long with a stop below the 618 zone. PRTS. Know what this is. Not really too interested in this one either. I do see a double top potential here, and now we're starting to sell off. If we can break through these pivots here, expect a flush. And then if we do flush, I will have the Fibonacci's here to see where we could potentially pull back to. So be a little bit careful on this one here. I feel like, you know, there's so many stocks out there. Trade the ones that are setting up that have a good pattern. You know, like don't waste your money on things just because you want to trade something you heard in the news or something like that. It's not worth your time. You know, trade something that is following, you know, technicals and following chart patterns, and are not pump and dumps. So over here, INO, not really interested on anything here. There's no inside week. There's nothing really nice to play here. We're below the mid Bollinger Band now, so this thing could get going on the short side. If it gets going on the short side, we'll take the most extreme pivot, and then we would look for these Fibonacci's to play out down here, really. And I can already see that. Why my fibs look so stretched? Anyways, is that right? I guess it's because of the chart. But yeah, so we could already see that the 786 area has already acted as support. But if this goes, I would expect us to have some selling. All right. What else we got? About yes, the $100 you reneged on. I don't know what the hell that means, but yeah, I am doing a $100 giveaway for next week. So it's on my channel, and please just sign up there for anyone that's interested. And I'm gonna try to I'm gonna announce a winner next week. I wanted to do it for Christmas time. Okay, so sign up for that if you haven't already. So the last one is XOM. We already went through that. So yeah, so we hit a whole bunch of them. Let's just look where ES is right now. So if anybody has any more questions or anything, throw them in the chat. But if not, we will wrap up shortly. Let me just draw this here again. Yeah, so, you know, just be aware of this. Like I said, these fib areas here. And we'll see how the market opens up tomorrow, and then we'll take it from there. So I hope you learned something about how to short right off at the open using limit orders. I hope that's valuable to you. And what I suggest is that you do a little bit of back testing, and you look at all the Sunday opens and try to figure out a little strategy that you can follow. Trading is a creative process, and you gotta put in the time and effort to make it work. It's not gonna work like magic. When will you get a chat room? I'm not sure. You know, my channel is very small, and you know, I don't have enough support to do something like that right now. I ran surveys in the past, and I don't have enough interest. But you know, as I keep giving good value to you guys, I hope that my channel will continue to grow. And I really try to be transparent and honest, and I give live calls. I do a lot of things no one else is willing to do. So I hope by continuing to do that, that my channel will grow. And when the time's right, and when I have enough support, I'll definitely look into doing something like that. But as of right now, I just don't have enough support to start something like that. But otherwise than that, one thing I do have right now is my book, and sold over 65 copies. A lot of people are using it for day trading and swing trading. So, you know, check that out if you want to learn more about my style. Thanks, Daniel. Appreciate you joining me here. All right, so I'm done, and hope you guys learned a few things. And DM me if you have any questions. Thank you, L. Appreciate you. And enjoy the rest of your day, and looking forward to the open tomorrow. Okay, guys? All right. Take care.